This homily is also available as a Marian News RSS feed at podcastgarden.com, iTunes, Google Play, and the parish website of St. Peter the Apostle in Wichita, Kansas.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. On that day, Jesus went out of the house and sat down by the sea. Such large clouds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood along the shore. And he spoke to them at length in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, and birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground, where it had little soil. It sprang up at once, because the soil was not deep. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and it withered for lack of roots. Some seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. And some seed fell on rich soil and produced fruit, 100, or 60, or 30-fold. Whoever has ears ought to hear. The Gospel of the Lord. Come, Holy Spirit. Come by means of the powerful intercession of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, your well-beloved spouse. Come, Holy Spirit. Come by means of the powerful intercession of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, your well-beloved spouse. When we invite Mary into our homes and into our hearts, she begins to do, if you will, house cleaning. When we invite Mary into our heart and into our homes, she begins to put things in proper perspective and in a proper array. She removes the thorn, casts out the stone, loosens the soil of our hearth. She begins to form and shape our hearts so that we might be able, through the power of the Spirit, receive the word of her Son. And in so receiving the word of her Son, she begins to have that environment, that climate, so that that seed may grow. She cultivates and enters into the garden of our heart and welcomes us into the immaculate garden of hers. Mary prepares us for God. And so it is important that we bring her in. She who was promised to be that one who leads us to her Son, that leads us to her spouse, that leads us to her Father, our Father. She, as she enters in and has her indwelling with us, she becomes that mother who molds and forms and shapes our heart and our home to receive God. We are now only on our fourth day in preparation for the consecration of our heart to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And if we have not yet begun this consecration, no worries, we can start anew today. There are several little booklets in the back that might be able to assist us in this preparation. To prepare our heart, to prepare our house, to prepare our home for the indwelling of the mother who prepares us for God. In a particular way, the gift of wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. These three gifts are directed towards our intellect so that we might be able to have a proper perspective, that we might be able to see more clearly the world around us with our minds. The human being is made in the image and likeness of God. That image is our ability to think and choose. And so that intellect then is filled with the gift of the Holy Spirit of wisdom. Wisdom to be able to see as God sees, to put ourselves in the position where we might be able, with the objective point of view of God, might be able to see the circumstance, to see the situation, to be able to see the event that occurs in our life and occurs in our home with God's eyes, not our own. To be able to look at the world and this community with God's eyes, God's vision. To be able to look upon that employee or that other person we work with that might annoy us through God's vision, God's eyes. And with that gift of wisdom, we also receive the gift of understanding. That gift of understanding that we might be able to comprehend what is not said, what it is not evident. The gift of the Holy Spirit begins to show what is between the lines. It begins to make manifest in our mind what is not said, what is not seen, what is not heard. The gift of wisdom and the gift of understanding is able to synthesize all the data points that are around us. And we begin to put these together, weave these together, synchronize that information, and make sense of it. Comprehension, which leads us to knowledge. The gift of knowledge is that we might be able to know what is not evident, to be able to have that information that maybe is not available to us at the moment. This is why we hear so often said that as long as there are exams at school, there is always going to be prayer. Right? Because the gift of knowledge provides us that information, provides us that know-how, and illumines and enlightens our mind. So when we invite the spouse of the Holy Spirit into our house, she begins to prepare this groundwork. She prepares us so that we might be able to have this vision that's not of this world, but it is of God. It's of the next world. And we begin to see more clearly, not only the things and events in our life, but we also see our role in those events. We see our role in this circumstance. And we begin again to have that clear vision. When we invite this mother in, she also doesn't just affect our intellect, but she prepares our heart and she prepares our mind to enforce and strengthen the will. In a particular way, the Holy Spirit gives us the gift of counsel. The gift of counsel is our ability to speak when we need to speak, to not speak when we shouldn't. The gift of counsel is that response to what we have experienced, what we know, what we see. It is our ability to respond to the situation, which leads us to the gift of piety. The gift of piety is our interaction stemmed by our faith. That our actions are founded, our bedrock is our faith. It is our assent to God. So that the gift of piety is not just with a bowed head and folded hands. No, it is taking our faith and applying it to action. Taking our faith and infusing it into our response. So when we speak from the foundation of faith. When we speak or we hold back our thought, we are on the bedrock of Jesus Christ. Which leads us to the third gift that influences our will, and that is fortitude. The gift of fortitude, the gift of courage, is the strength to respond accordingly. So it is that time that we know we should say something, to know that we should act, and we cower back, we pull back because we don't want to offend, or we don't want to be made fun of, or we don't want to be ostracized in any way. This fortitude gives us the strength to do so. This fortitude, this gift of fortitude, allows us to step forward and be counted. This gift of fortitude, because we have the sight and because we have the will, we engage the public square. We engage this person that needs to be engaged or not. It gives us the strength so that when we want to speak and we know we shouldn't, we don't. How often is it that when we have arguments at home and we have disagreements and friction in the homestead, it's because of our mouth? The gift of fortitude gives you the strength to shut up. I have yet to conquer that. These 6 gifts, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge for the intellect, counsel, piety, and fortitude for the will, are blanketed by the first, should I say, gift that makes these others possible. This gift is the recognition of the power and the presence and the life of Jesus Christ and God the Father and God the Spirit in our day-to-day life, that we might be able to see and experience His presence. We call this fear of the Lord. That we are struck with awe, that at every moment of our day, every moment at work, every moment at home, the presence of God is here. He is present in our exchanges. He is present in our conversation. He is present in every aspect of our life. And we'll begin to have that fear of God, that fear of the Lord, not some sort of temor. It's not some sort of afraid or timidity. It is recognizing He is present. And He's present here at this moment. This is fear of the Lord. It is the umbrella, if you will, of the other 6 gifts. All these gifts can be possible within our heart and within our home when we bring the spouse, the daughter, and the mother of God into our homes. So once again, as we begin to prepare ourselves for her indwelling, as we consecrate our heart and our home to her, the gifts of the Holy Spirit are available to us like the gentle rain. And in this gentle rain of the gifts of the Spirit, it is there where fruit can be born 100, 60, or 30-fold. It is when we open ourselves to the Mother of God, she prepares the groundwork so that the gifts of the Holy Spirit might be able to descend upon us and our family, and we can be that radical difference in our community and in our nation, in our world. This is what changes us. The world around us may not change. The world around us may be still in conflict. The world around us might be in trial and tribulation and might be testing us, but we will be changed. We will be that refuge of peace and security when we have the indwelling of the mother, the daughter, the spouse. So again, we ask and we invite the mother in our door and into our homes so that we might bear fruit and we might be strengthened along the way. So it is with glad heart and glad mind that we decide to invite this Holy Spirit through His mother into our lives. So we might have the courage to pray, "Come, Holy Spirit, come by means of the powerful intercession of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, your well-beloved spouse. Come, Holy Spirit, come by means of the powerful intercession of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, your well-beloved spouse."